Today we will discuss lecture number 9 that deals with the concept of genre. We will be introduced to the main characteristics of genre, and we will take examples of Western films and hybrid genre, and we will discuss the main attribute that they been adding to the world of cinema.
Stand back, musketeers! They shall sample my blade! Touche! Musketeers? My guard, my blade. Hey, psst! Whoever's in charge here? The scenery! Where's the scenery? Stand back, musketeers! They shall sample my blade. Okay, have it your way. Daffy Duck, he had a farm, E-I-A-I-O. And on this farm he had an igloo, E-I-E-I-O. Would it be too much to ask if we could make up our minds? Dashing through the snow, through the fields we go, laughing all the way.
So as you see, the storyline kept on changing every time a different element in the story got changed. And this introduces to the concept of genre. In Arabic we called it التصنيف، تصنيف الأعمال الإعلامية والمادة الإعلامية البصرية إلى عدة خانات. Now, how can we define genre? As it is written here, genre is the classification of media text. Classification means تصنيف. Genre is the classification of media text into groups with similar characteristic. This is the main important aspect. When you have similar characteristic, you can identify to what group does this work or does this film or show belongs to. Now, genre is not something that is decided by one person. Genre is a collaboration, a negotiation between those who make the film, who are like the producer, the filmmaker, the director, the company, and the audience. The audience have a very important role in deciding what they want to see and what they like. Based on this partnership between the filmmakers and the audience, the concept of genre developed over time. Now, every time you go to watch a film in the cinema, or every time you start watching a show on TV, each show belongs to a specific group because it has a special characteristic. This characteristic sets an expectation, it gives you توقعات. So when you go and watch an Indian film, عندك مجموعة من التوقعات. You expect to see something. When you go and watch a thriller, film إثارة, you also have expectation, you have توقعات. You will never go to watch, for example, you will never go to watch a horror film and see a song in it. This is not from the expectation, okay? That's why we say that genre classifies these media text into groups based on specific characteristics. Now, what are these characteristics that we're talking about? You have here, these characteristics are called the repertoire of elements. It's a group of elements, you can find it in every film. And these characteristics can be defined by these 5 elements that you're having right here. You have, first of all, what is called iconography. In Arabic, we call it الأيقونة أو الرمز. Iconography is a significant object or sound. It could be details of costume, instruments, or weapon, or the setting. هي مجموعة من العناصر أو العوامل المميزة التي قد تكون تفاصيل في ملابس، قد تكون أداة، قد تكون سلاح، قد تكون البيئة. هذه الأيقونة وهذا الرمز it describe these particular signs that we associate with particular genre, such as the physical attribute of a dress of an actor, the setting, tool of trade, etc. يعني, for example, in an action film, you will always see fights. You will always see the color black and the color dark blue, for example. They will always use guns. They will always speak in a dark, deep voice. In comedy, you will have light colors. You will have singing, and maybe also has a bit of romantic elements. All these things that you can find it in a comedy genre. The second point is the narrative, الرواية أو الحبكة. Narrative will often follow strict formula. بمعنى that every genre or every group of structure, certain structure, will follow certain elements. As again, we go back to the example of the Indian cinema. Indian cinema, the story will always have a hero and a heroine, بطل وبطلة. They, in the beginning, they maybe hate each other, and then they fall in love, and he tries to marry her, but then maybe her father refuse, and then the fights happen, and eventually in the end he wins and he gets to marry her, and you have also singing, etc. So there are specific rule for how the story is being unfolded in front of the audience, and based on that you can differentiate and you can set up an expectation as a viewer to decide, okay, I'm watching an Indian film or I'm watching a خليجي drama, for example. القصة لها صياغة معينة بحيث أنه هذه القصة تميز نوع وآخر من الأفلام أو من المسلسلات، في يعني ديباجة وحبكة معينة تميز هذه المجموعات. النقطة الثالثة, the third point is the character أو الشخصيات. For example, you have the heroes and the villains in most of the films. You have the gangster and the cop, العصابة والشرطة في أفلام بوليسية, police film. You have the cowboys and the outlaws in the western, أفلام الغرب الأمريكي. For example, you have the mad scientist and the monster, العالم المجنون والوحوش في أفلام الخيال العلمي أو الساي-فاي. Also, two important points that we can add to the repertoire of elements are the emotions and the theme. المشاعر والثيم العام, الموضوع العام للعمل. Emotions are very important aspect that decide the type of the genre, because emotion evokes certain psychological understanding or certain psychological expectation for the film. For an example here, it says that horror movies evokes fear and comedies evoke laughter. And this is one of the aspects that tells you as a viewer that you are watching a horror film or you're watching a comedy film. Also, when we discuss themes, الموضوع or the setting of the film, this is also set a different expectation that helps you and understand the type of genre. If you're watching a science fiction, خيال علمي, the theme is always about humans and aliens, البشر والمخلوقات الفضائية. Also, if you're watching a romantic film, it is about man and woman, the relationship between man and woman. Now, genre isn't something fixed. Genre isn't just a black or white. It's not just comedy or just horror or just sci-fi. Genre also can mix and intertwine. The mixing of genre gives us what is called the hybrid genre. الفئة الهجينة اللي هي عبارة عن تزاوج واندماج فئتين مختلفات اللي يؤثروا أيضا على الناتج اللي يحصل عليه المشاهد. Also, it is very important to mention that when talking about films and analyzing films, that these films have certain issues and they have certain ideas they discuss it. You don't, when you watch a film, you're just watching the film. You also are absorbing the ideas that are being given to you by the filmmakers. These ideas, we call them ideologies or belief system. In Arabic, we call it نظام مفاهيم أو أفكار وعقائد تعطى لك من الفيلم أو أنت تستشفها وتؤثر فيك كمشاهد. These ideologies, according to the definition here, it is a belief system, a ways of looking at life, a module for the right and the wrong ways of behaving. The genres tend to express collective values and ideals. هذه الجونرز تميل إلى أنها تقدم مجموعة من الأفكار، تقدم مجموعة من المصطلحات، مجموعة من نظام تفكير معين يؤثر على الجمهور، تؤثر على قيمه، تؤثر على إدراكه and the way they see the world. Like for example, a lot of films discuss capitalism. That if you have money, you will always have success. That, for example, the best place to make your dream come true is to go to America. Violence is being portrayed as the only way to ensure power. If you have violence, you will always have power, and this is not necessarily right in society in real life, but this is also a set of ideologies. Also, the way that, for example, Hollywood and the films portray Arabs and Muslims, it is very extreme. A lot of Muslims, a lot of Arabs disagree with that concept. However, this is an example of how the genres can portray it. We will discuss now one example to explain genre in a better way. When we talk about the cowboy films or the western film, أفلام الغرب الأمريكية, this is a great example how these criteria has been utilized and introduced. When we talk about western film, there is also a certain dynamic. Most films have these main issues. You have the taming of the frontier. It is always in a place that is very harsh to live in, almost a desert. It is always the celebration of the hero's rugged individualism. These films always based on a male hero. These films are very patriarchal. They support that notion. And also, these films always talk about the fight and the conflict between the hero and the community and the society. The hero cannot confined to society, cannot agree with society. That's why the hero tend to walk away and roam around by themselves, and then they maybe save the society if the society was in trouble, for example. However, this is the main formula of these films, but with time, as we said earlier, that genre is not something fixed and static, it evolves with time. We've seen different examples for Western films, and one great model that is explained this variety called Gianti's model of Western film. Gianti is the name of the person. Gianti decided that there are four types of or four samples of Western film. You have the primitive film, المرحلة البدائية أو النوع البدائي, which is the typical one that start within the beginning of cinema, that discuss يعني تقليدي ممكن تسموه النوع التقليدي المعتاد اللي يناقش the normal situation, normal issues, القضايا المعتادة, which is the fight between industrial and urban, الصراع ما بين الصناعة وما بين نظام البداوة اللي قد يكون في أمريكا في بدايات, the rural and the urban lifestyle again, الحياة البسيطة مقابل الحياة الرأسمالية, old versus the new, the individual versus the society, وهكذا. And then the second wave came that discusses the Western film. It's called the classical period, الفترة الكلاسيكية, where the stories start to be developed more. It gives you more intensity, it gives you more drama structure to the story. They focus now on the individuals more than the society. And then after that it came the revisionist period, which it is more symbolic here. You have more logic. The films talks to the brain more than it talks to the emotion. And this genre or this period witnessed the introduction of Native American and women for the first time in cowboy film. Women have a very important role, like men. Indian Americans, Native Americans also has an important role. Previously, the Indians used to be killed or used to be looked at as barbaric or monsters. ولكن in the third wave, the story start to be developed. These people start to have their rights, and this was happening in the same time that America was going through a social reform period in the 1960s and the 1970s. And then finally you have the parodic period, which is the period تعتبر البيريد الساخرة, where most of these films mock the tradition, mock the concept of the cowboy. يعني هو في نوع من السخرية لفكرة الكاوبوي. هذه الفترة يعني تعتبر الفترة الأخيرة اللي شملها تطور أفلام الكاوبوي إلى أن وصلت إلى المرحلة الساخرة، تسخر من التقليد، تسخر من التاريخ، نوع من النقد الذاتي you could call it. So when we imply the repertoire of element on the Western film, when we discuss it point by point, we start to notice certain aspects. Like for example, the narrative, the story of the cowboy. It is the individual male protagonist and a small community. قصة البطل الذكر أو الرجل في مجتمع صغير. هذا المجتمع غالبا ما يكون in the desert for example. Usually there are a lot of outlaws خارجين عن القانون موجودين فيه كثير, and the hero try to save the society. This is the typical story. هذه القصة العادية, الحبكة العادية. الهيرو try to save the people. الهيرو maybe dies, maybe not. بس دائما الفيلن are being pushed away. الأشرار دائما يعني يتم دحضهم. الكونفليكت, الصراع الطبيعي المعتاد في هذه النماذج دائما تكون الإيست versus الوست, الغرب versus المدنية, مثلا الصحراء versus نيويورك for example, الصحراء الأمريكية وهكذا. الكاوبويز ضد الهنود الحمر. Also the setting, البيئة العامة, it is fixed throughout these films, which is America in the late 19th century, فترة أمريكا في قبل بداية القرن العشرين, وهي الفترة اللي هي 1800 something. دائما فترة الحرب الأمريكية هي الفترة اللي دائما تعرض في هذه الأفلام. اللوكيشنز, الأماكن, wilderness, الصحاري, الماونتنز, الفالي, الوديان. Also المدينة, how does it look like. المدينة فيها السجن, فيها الصالون أو الفندق, فيها المحل, الستور, فيها التشيرش, الكنيسة, فيها المزرعة, الرانش وهكذا. These are the typical elements that we will find in a cowboy film. The characters is the same. You have the hero who try to save the place. The hero normally is a good person, doesn't talk much, live by himself. He has his horse. He's very good with guns. He tried to fulfill justice. And the hero غالبا when we look at the iconography دائما نلاحظ تكرار نماذج معينة خاصة في الأيقونة أو في السيمبلزم. يعني for example الهيرو will always wear a white hat, قبعة بيضاء for example, or he will have a white horse, كون أنه اللون الأبيض يمثل الصفاء والنقاء والسلام. بس بالعكس في المقابل الفيلن الشرير will always have something black to represent darkness. Also الفيلن maybe they have a cut on their face for example. قد يكون في جرح على الوجه, قد يكون مثلا أسنانه مجموعة منهم مش موجودة, أو قد يكون يرتدي gold teeth, سن ذهبي وهكذا. هذه العناصر الرمزية تعطيني أيضا دلالات, gives you it makes you identify with the character, understand the role of the characters. We come to the role of women now in cowboy films. Women normally has three roles in cowboy film. The woman either it has to be a saloon girl or a bar girl, which means she is a prostitute أو قد ما يسمى باللغة العربية بائعة هوى. بالتالي الغرض الوحيد من هذه المرأة هو غرض جنسي فقط. النقطة الثانية, the woman could be a mother or a wife, أو زوجة, someone who would stay in the house, take care of the family, cook food for the children. دورها لا يتعدى حدود المنزل. The third part is that the woman could be a spinster or a school teacher. دورها الآخر قد تكون يا إما مثلا امرأة عانس, وقد تكون أو مدرسة مدرسة. ودائما هذه الأدوار يعني تتميز بنوع من التقليل من شأن المرأة، يعني إما يكون دورها جنسي، أو إما تكون مثلا فكرة العنوسة وإنه فاتها القطار و nobody will marryها، أو قد تكون فكرتها إنها فقط ربة منزل جاهلة لا تعرف anything in life. فهذه الأدوار كانت دائما تتكرر في أفلام الكاوبوي بالأخص يعني عندما يتعلق الموضوع بالمرأة. and in the same thing Indians, I mean to call them Indians is wrong. the Native American سكان أمريكا الأصليين دائما يتم التعبير عنهم in a very ugly way, in a very brutal way. They're monsters. They eat the skin of and the flesh of the others, and they're barbaric. they دائما يصوروهم إنهم أشخاص وحشيين متوحشين يعيشوا على قتل الآخرين إلى آخره. all this kind of ideology that was very predominant in the Western films. Now the main structure البنية الروائية for the film تكون كالتالي: there is a conflict in community، يوجد في صراع في المجتمع، and then the hero decide to be part of the conflict، يقرر البطل أن يكون جزء من هذا الصراع and save the society. And then the conflict resolved in the most fundamental way, which is by a fight. يتم حل الصراع ما بين عنصر الشر وعنصر الخير دائما بصراع بالأسلحة. And then at the end الخير يسود and the hero will leave the society and again be by himself and wander in the desert. And this is the typical structure of these certain films.